Hey everyone, welcome. Big love to my global family, and if this is your first time here, we're honored to have you join us. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. On April 13, 2025, the Houthis didn't just launch one ballistic missile, they fired two deep from inside Yemen, targeting Israeli military sites. Within seconds, air raid sirens blared across Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. These missiles were fast, powerful, and deadly. But Israel wasn't their only target. This was about testing limits and provoking a much bigger conflict. Just off the coast in international waters, a fully loaded U.S. Navy aircraft carrier group was on high alert. When missiles start flying in a war zone, especially ones launched by Iranian-backed rebels, the U.S. doesn't just sit back, they respond with force. So, what really happened after those missiles were fired? And how close did we come to something much bigger? At exactly 3:41 a.m. local time, two ballistic missiles were launched from rebel-held territory in northwestern Yemen. According to Yemeni intelligence sources, their intended targets were likely Israeli military facilities, maybe near Tel Aviv or on the outskirts of Beersheba, but they never made it. One was intercepted by Israeli air defenses mid-air, while the other broke apart over the southwest, scattering metal debris over Hebron. No injuries were reported this time, but the timing wasn't random. The attack came just hours after a joint U.S.-Israeli intelligence briefing warned of increased Iranian activity through proxy networks, including redeployed Houthi missile stockpiles in Sada and Hodeidah.
For years, the Houthis have claimed they're fighting a defensive war against Saudi and Israeli influence. But their capabilities tell a different story. These aren't makeshift rockets. They're ballistic missiles supplied by Iran. We're likely talking about something like the Burkan 2H, a solid-fuel beast with a range of 1,000 kilometers, capable of carrying a half-ton warhead. It's built to cause chaos well beyond Yemen's borders. And this isn't the first time they've tried. In 2021, similar missiles were launched toward Riyadh. In late 2023, the UAE was targeted. But hitting Israel? That's a whole new level of escalation.
While Israel scrambled jets and launched interceptors, another key player quietly got moving. Just 400 nautical miles away, the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower carrier group was patrolling the Red Sea. Several destroyers, including the USS Gravely and USS Leon, were already tracking the launches. They didn't intervene yet, it wasn't their airspace, but their presence sent a clear message: the region was now a lit fuse. Once ballistic missiles start flying, nobody assumes it'll stop at just one. The U.S. doesn't do wait and see in these waters, especially not after last year. The Houthis had already attacked commercial shipping, fired on Saudi oil facilities, and tested drones against U.S. destroyers. They're no longer just a local militia. They're a destabilizing force with long-range weapons and no hesitation. This particular strike may not have caused casualties, but it changed the game. It showed the Houthis are willing to aim farther, hit harder, and do so with more precision than ever before. That makes them more dangerous than ever.
So what happens when an unpredictable rebel group launches strategic missiles in a hot zone patrolled by the world's most powerful navy? Everything tightens up. Sensors go live. Missile silos get opened. Sailors across the strike group drop into action. Because when one missile launches, others might follow. At the time of the launch, the Eisenhower carrier group was operating in the northern Red Sea, close to Yemen's western coast. That meant destroyers like the Gravely and Leon, along with other Arleigh Burke-class ships, were already tracking every radar signal from Yemen's mainland. It wasn't their first alert. Back in January, the Houthis launched swarms of drones and anti-ship missiles at international shipping in the Bab al-Mandeb Strait. That incident triggered a direct U.S. response. Tomahawk missiles struck Houthi radar stations, weapon launchers, and depots across their territory. Since then, U.S. ships have been on near constant combat alert. So, the warning on April 13th wasn't a surprise. What made it different was where the missiles were headed. Missiles aimed at Israel, especially coming from Yemen, mark a serious regional escalation. And when you've got an aircraft carrier loaded with jets, hundreds of guided missiles, and over 5,000 personnel within range, you don't wait for confirmation. You get ready for impact. That's where the Aegis combat system comes in, the digital brain of naval warfare. The Navy's most advanced destroyers instantly scanned missile trajectories, while airborne E-2D Hawkeye surveillance planes began feeding real-time data to the strike group. Airspace control was handed off to combat direction centers aboard the Eisenhower, where operators coordinated air patrols and made flight adjustments on the fly.
High-tech warfare and a clear message from the U.S. Navy. With encrypted communications and high-speed jets like the F/A-18E Super Hornet on standby, everything was running like clockwork below deck. You better believe it, crews were running drills, damage control teams were prepped, and everyone knew exactly where they were supposed to be. Nobody was panicking, but no one was relaxed either. According to several Navy sources, the Eisenhower strike group wasn't directly targeted, but that didn't mean they were taking any chances. It's also worth noting that U.S. Navy ships in the region operate under rules of engagement that allow them to take immediate defensive action the second a threat is detected. No need to wait for permission. If something's incoming, they're cleared to respond. So while Israeli interceptor missiles lit up the night sky over Tel Aviv, American destroyers were fully powered up. Radars were hot, launch tubes were ready, and the big question was, would the U.S. actually respond? This wasn't just retaliation, it was a message, not just to the Houthis but to their backers in Tehran. If you escalate, we'll respond fast, smart, and without hesitation. And it wasn't just about the firepower. The message came through the posture. U.S. naval forces stayed in place. Carrier-based fighter patrols continued daily flights from the Eisenhower. Destroyers maintained a constant radar presence over the Bab al-Mandeb Strait and the Red Sea. It's important to understand, this wasn't all-out war, it was a calculated show of dominance. The U.S. didn't level towns or carpet bomb rebel territory. That would have been reckless and excessive. Instead, by precisely taking out key assets, they sent a crystal-clear signal, we see you, we're ready, and next time we won't be so polite. For months, Houthi leaders had been testing the limits, targeting tankers, threatening allies, showing off Iranian-supplied tech like trophies. They pushed and pushed again. This time, they got hit hard. But the big question now is, was it enough? Do you think the U.S. response was strong enough to deter future attacks? Or should they have hit even harder? Drop your thoughts below. One thing's for sure, the Houthis learned the hard way that American military power isn't just about missiles, it's about systems that can see, think, and strike before the threat even gets close. Let's break that down. When missiles are launched, whether from land, sea, or air, the first line of defense is detection. And for the U.S. Navy, that job belongs to the Aegis combat system. Think of Aegis as the mission control center for everything in the sky. It runs off the AN/Spy-1D-V radar, a beast of a phased array system that can scan hundreds of miles in every direction and track over 100 targets at once. So when the Houthis fired those two ballistic missiles on April 13th, ships like the USS Gravely and USS Leon didn't sit around waiting to see where they'd land. They already knew the trajectory before the missiles hit peak altitude. If even one of those threats had been heading toward the carrier strike group, the response would have been immediate, brutal, and multi-layered. The first line of defense? SM-6 and SM-2 surface-to-air missiles. These aren't just basic interceptors, they're designed to take down high-speed threats at high altitudes, including cruise missiles, aircraft, and ballistic missiles. Launched from vertical launch cells on Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, they use active radar guidance and can take out targets up to 150 miles away. But what if something slips through? After years of Houthi threats and repeated attacks on both military and commercial targets in the Red Sea, the U.S. wasn't exactly in a forgiving mood, and that changed everything. According to military analysts and satellite imagery, two U.S. B-1B Lancer bombers were quietly repositioned from Diego Garcia the same night. Then came confirmation from CENTCOM. A defensive airstrike hit a Houthi radar installation believed to be linked to the missile launch. No civilians, no warning, just one precision-guided strike and a rude wake-up call. But that was just the opening move. Within 48 hours, the U.S. launched a coordinated multi-target strike on Houthi military infrastructure. Suspected missile depots, command centers, and air defense systems near Hodeidah were hit. Local footage showed secondary explosions, probably indicating ammo or fuel depots going up. The weapons? Most likely Tomahawk cruise missiles launched from destroyers in the Red Sea. Scary, accurate, GPS-guided, low-flying, terrain-hugging missiles that hit like a freight train. By the time you hear them, it's too late. Naval electronic warfare teams likely jammed Houthi radar systems too, scrambling their ability to coordinate a counterstrike. The goal wasn't just to blow up hardware, it was to blind, confuse, and paralyze. And it worked. Within 72 hours of the U.S. response, Houthi media channels went dark. No victory videos, no bold claims, just silence. And for a group that thrives on propaganda, that silence said everything. Up close and personal, the final line of defense. When it comes to close-range threats, that's where CRAM comes in. It's a hybrid defense system that combines the Phalanx radar and fire control system with a rolling airframe missile launcher, known as RAM. This setup is built to instantly destroy anything that gets too close. It locks on, tracks, and fires automatically. You don't press a button, the system is the button. If somehow a missile makes it through all the outer defenses, which is a big if, there's still the ship's last line of defense, CIWS, also nicknamed R2D2 because of how it looks. It's a 20mm Gatling gun that fires 4,500 rounds per minute, basically creating a wall of tungsten in the air. Think of it as the Navy's last word, but it's not just what's on the ships that matters. There are eyes in the sky, too. High above the carrier strike group, E-2D Hawkeye aircraft patrol the skies, scanning with their massive rotating radar domes and feeding live data to every ship in the fleet. Even further out, MQ-9 Reaper and Global Hawk drones provide constant surveillance, tracking bomber movements and signs that something big might be about to go down. All of this comes together into one shared picture. From radar operators aboard ships to strike planners thousands of miles away in command centers, everything is connected. This is called network-centric warfare, meaning the US doesn't just react to threats, it can predict them. And when retaliation is needed, that's when the Tomahawk missile comes into play. The Tomahawk Land Attack Missile, or TLAM, can be launched from destroyers or submarines. It can fly over 1,000 miles, change course mid-flight, and hit its target with pinpoint accuracy. It can even loiter in the air, waiting for confirmation that the right target, be it a person or facility, is present in Yemen before striking. That means enemy command centers can be wiped out before the next missile even leaves its bunker. And here's the kicker. All of this, from detection to launch to interception, can happen in under 60 seconds. This isn't science fiction, friend. It's what keeps U.S. carrier strike groups safe in waters where chaos can come from any direction. So next time someone dares fire a missile at a U.S. ally or tests the world's most advanced naval force, they're not just risking retaliation, they're gambling against a machine that doesn't blink. Yes, missiles are fast, but intelligence? That's even faster. Before a single warhead lit up the skies over Yemen, the U.S. was already watching. Not from one source, but through a vast global network of surveillance data and alliances that form the backbone of modern warfare. Let's start with satellites. High above the Middle East, the U.S. space-based infrared system monitors thermal signatures. The moment a ballistic missile is launched, even from a hidden site deep in the mountains, that heat signature gets picked up immediately. That data flows straight to NORAD, the Pentagon, and the combat information centers aboard U.S. Navy ships in the region. But satellites don't work alone. Ground-based intel units are always listening. NSA agents and Navy cryptologists monitor regional communications, encrypted chatter, electronic signatures. It's all being analyzed. If a Houthi commander sends a coded green light, chances are someone at Fort Meade hears it.
Then there's human intel. Over the past decade, the US has built an extensive network of assets across Yemen, Saudi Arabia, and beyond. Local informants, allied intel services, and even defected Houthi fighters feed crucial info to American analysts. And here's the part most people forget. The US isn't doing this alone. Every alert, every threat gets cross-checked with Israeli Unit 8200, Britain's GCHQ, and regional partners within CENTCOM and NATO. This isn't just America pulling the strings. It's a coalition of democracies facing off against a proxy threat. So when the Houthis launched those missiles, the full picture came together fast. Within minutes, analysts in Florida, drone pilots in Djibouti, and missile techs aboard the USS Gravely were all looking at the same screen. Enemy launch point, flight path, response options, mapped out in real time. Global coordination at the speed of war. The US has the tech, the intelligence, and the firepower to neutralize threats in minutes. But here's the real dilemma. Just because you can strike doesn't mean you always should. For now, the missiles are quiet. But anyone paying attention knows it's not over. The Middle East hasn't calmed down. In fact, things have been heating up since the April 13th attack. The US has ramped up patrols in the Red Sea, expanded aerial surveillance, and reinforced regional partnerships. Carrier operations continue around the clock. Drones remain in the sky. Destroyers keep their launch tubes ready. But the Houthis are unpredictable, and they're not acting alone. Iran has a long history of using proxies to push boundaries without getting its hands dirty. And now that the Houthis have shown they can reach Israeli territory, the stakes just went up. Big time. So the question is, what if there's a next time?
Thanks so much for watching. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Here at X News, we're committed to bringing you quality updates. See you soon in the next